What are you prepared to do? What's up, watchers? Today's podcast features a genre we haven't covered yet. We discussed aspects of it on previous episodes, but today we'll review our first martial arts film.
Both Jeremy and I have been huge fans of movies in this segment and obsessively consumed large amounts of the works of actors such as Jet Li, Jackie Chan, and the great Bruce Lee, to name a few.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Grab your bow staff and your favorite set of nunchucks. It's time for 2004's Kung Fu Hustle. You know, I don't think this movie, they actually use nunchucks in this movie.
They don't. I guess they kind of use a bow staff.
Welcome to the Midnight Watch Podcast, the show where we discuss classic, cult, and modern classic movies.
We're your hosts, Josh and Jeremy, and we try to review movies that are at least 10 years old and see what kind of impact they made or are still making on culture and the film industry. We also don't keep anything back, so you're going to get lots of spoilers on this show.
That's right. We rate these movies in 4 categories. Number 1, the level of impact and success it had when it was released. Number 2, how relevant is it today? Number 3, our own personal enjoyment of this movie. And number 4, is it a midnight watch?
So, this is a pretty special episode since we're covering a genre we've loved for a long time and are finally covering our first martial arts movie here on the watch. So what do we have for our first batch of trivia for Kung Fu Hustle?
Well, let me tell you, I lost my notes.
As you try to find your notes. Excellent.
Where is it?
We're very professional here,
right.
Everyone.
Well, let me tell you, Josh. Okay. This movie was directed by Stephen Chow. The score was by Raymond Wong. And the budget was $20 million. And then the worldwide box office was $102 million. And the choreography was by Yun Wu Ping. So that's pretty legit. Let's see who we got in here.
Yeah.
For forward note here, me getting into the cast, I apologize. In case you didn't know, I am American. And I'll give out...
Very white bread American.
Very white bread. So we'll... okay, let's get into these names. So we have Stephen Chow. We have Yoon Kui. We have Yoon Hwa. Danny Chan Kwok Kwan. We have Hung Sheng-hee. We have Bruce Ling, Chi Ling Chiu, Dong Jae Hua, and Yu Sing. So I hope I pronounced at least 2 of those names right. So anyways, these are all phenomenal actors, though. These are very good.
I thought it was actually going to be a lot worse, but then again, I don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese, so.
Well, hey, we did what we could. I'm going to say, by the way, the reason that phrase that I said at the very beginning of it, that's the only English line in the movie. And that's actually like when Taylor's about to die or whatever. And he's like, the 2 landlords are like, hey, we'll try to save you. And then he says it in English. He says, what are you prepared to do? And then the landlord's like, what are you saying? We don't understand you. And then he dies. And then they're like, oh no. And so,
I'm so stupid. I just got that now. Like I didn't even realize when I'm watching it that he switched to English, and that's why they're saying English. We don't understand.
And they're like, we don't understand what you're saying. Anyways, that was actually a tribute to the Untouchables, the 1987. That's when I don't remember which character it is. I haven't seen that movie in a while. That might be Sean Connery's character. But yeah, that was like the tribute to that scene. Dude, there's a lot of tributes to different movies in this movie. Like this movie.
Oh my gosh, I know.
This movie is a kaleidoscope of different types of films, and it is. So one question real quick, and then we'll jump into the synopsis. We can answer this question a little bit later. Is this predominantly a comedy, or is this predominantly a kung fu movie? So like an action movie. So let's get into that synopsis.
Yeah, that was a great question. So the synopsis. This was a little long, but it's actually a pretty good breakdown of the movie. So here we go. Once again, courtesy of Wikipedia. In 1940s Shanghai, petty cooks Sing and Bone aspire to join the notorious Axe Gang, which rules the town with an iron fist under the leadership of the cold-blooded Brother Sum. The 2 visit Pigsty Alley, a rundown slum, where they claim to be axemen and attempt to extort the residents before being chased off by the slum's landlady. In an attempt to bluff them, Singh throws a firecracker, which blows up the hat of a minor axe gang boss passing by. Singh blames the residents for throwing the firecracker, and the boss attacks a barber, only to be struck by an unseen assailant. The gang then calls for reinforcements, while 3 of the tenants, Cooley, Taylor, and Donut, reveal themselves to be kung fu masters and triumph over the gang members. Fearing the gang's retaliation, the landlady quickly evicts the trio. Infuriated by the loss of his men, Brother Sum captures Singh and Bone, intending to kill them for posing as gang members. Singh narrowly frees themselves with his lockpicking skills, impressing Brother Sum, who allows them to join the gang once they commit manslaughter. Lamenting his failure, Singh relives his childhood to Bone. He was duped into believing he was a natural-born kung fu genius by a vagrant selling a martial arts pamphlet, and as a result, he gave the vagrant his meager savings to purchase the pamphlet. Singh practiced the Buddhist palm technique and attempted to save Fong, a mute girl, from bullies, only to be beaten himself and humiliated when the bullies point out that the pamphlet costs a mere 20 cents. Singh then becomes adamant the good guys never win and resolved to be a villain. The two return to Pigsty Alley to kill the landlady, though their plan backfires and they barely escape. Seeking safety in a traffic pulpit, Singh is surprised as his body rapidly heals from the injuries sustained during the escape. The pain causes him to strike the sides of the pulpit with extreme force, covering the surface with hand-shaped impressions. Brother Sum hires the harpists, 2 assassins who use a magical guzheng to kill the Pigsty Alley masters. There we go. They arrive at the alley undetected at night and overwhelm the 3 masters, who are in the process of leaving. The landlady and her husband, the landlord, intervene and reveal themselves to be kung fu masters as well. They defeat the harpists and send a stern warning to Brother Sum before evacuating Pigsty. Frustrated with his increasing failures, Singh attempts to rob an ice cream vendor, but inadvertently discovers that she is actually Fong. She offers him a lollipop as she did in the past, but he swats it away, ashamed of how far he has fallen. After shooing Bone away, Singh is brought to Brother Sum. The gang leader offers Singh instant membership into the gang if he can free the legendary assassin Beast from an asylum. Singh is successful, and the Beast is brought to the gang's headquarters. Brother Sum is initially skeptical of the Beast, whose flippant attitude and sloppy appearance annoys him. However, the Beast quickly reveals himself to be a lethal and skilled fighter, and he destroys half of the casino next door to confront the landlady and the landlord, who are waiting to settle the score with the gang. The 3 engage in a vicious battle that ends in a stalemate when the 3 are immobilized through an inter-joint lock. Singh, pressured by Brother Sum to attack the landlord and landlady to help the Beast, has a change of heart and attacks the Beast instead. Infuriated, the Beast pummels Singh, who is narrowly rescued by the landlord and landlady, and the 3 escape. The Beast casually kills Brother Sum for berating him, and he assumes control of the Axe Gang. Back at Pigsty Alley, the landlord and landlady treat Singh's wounds and are surprised when he recovers at top speed. A metamorphosed Singh treats the 2's wounds and takes them into a quiet room to rest before meeting the Axe Gang outside, who are waiting for them. The landlady deduces that Singh is a natural-born kung fu genius when he effortlessly dispatches the gang members before confronting the Beast. The Beast initially gains the upper hand and sends Singh flying high into the sky. Singh comes into inner peace by envisioning Buddha in the clouds before arriving back down to incapacitate the Beast. Although defeated, the Beast treacherously attempts to stab Singh with a poisoned weapon. Singh stops the Beast's attack and converts the weapon into a flower, which he sends floating through the air to Fong. Awestruck by Singh's action, which was completely beyond his understanding, the Beast tearfully bows down to Singh and begs to become his disciple. Singh and Bone open a candy store with Fong's lollipop as their logo. When Singh sees Fong outside, he happily invites her in to relive their childhood memories. The same vagrant who sold Singh the pamphlet entices another child just outside the store, only this time he is selling multiple pamphlets teaching different styles.
I think that was I'm not gonna lie, but I think that was the first time I was actually like really engrossed by the synopsis, and I was just like, oh yeah, like I realized like I hadn't like zoned out or looking at notes or something. I was just totally like listening, and then I was like, oh, I'm totally listening. So like the plot of this movie is fun. It's really fun.
It's totally fun.
Yeah.
But hey, before we run away, like we always do at this point in the podcast, where were you when you first watched this movie?
Where were you in? Okay, so I'm trying to remember when I watched this movie. Okay, so anyways, I remember seeing the first thing I saw of this was like there was huge posters in the movie theaters of Kung Fu Hustle, and I was like, "What is this? This looks crazy." Because like they have pictures of like the axe gangs dancing, and then they've got Stephen Chow in there, and we really liked kung fu movies at that time, so I was like, "This looks cool." And then I didn't see it in theaters. And I don't remember exactly when I saw it, but I saw it on DVD, and I initially wasn't sure how I felt about it because it's like there's certain parts that are really violent, and then there's a ton of slapstick comedy in this too. And so I had to watch it again later, and then I ended up like, that's why we're talking about it now. So yeah, what about you, Josh?
Right. Same as you. Actually, I don't remember when it came out. I remember seeing, I don't know, it must have been a year or two after it had come out, but it was on TV. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was flipping through the channels or something, and the scene where the harpists are attacking the three masters at night in the village or in the alley or whatever. And so that whole scene, I remember like you really into kung fu movies at the time, and I kind of stopped to watch and just got totally sucked into it. And that scene, there's not a ton of humor. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. Kind of classic kung fu movie,
like style, kung fu mythology, sort of. Yeah.
The wuxia style or whatever they call it, or is that more of that fantasy kind of style? Mm-hmm. Because I had seen, Crouching Tiger and Hero and a few other classic not classic, but now they're classic, I guess. But at the time they were newer, of that fantasy kung fu style. Anyways, so that totally grabbed me, but I didn't realize that was Kung Fu Hustle, I don't think. Because then later I remember seeing some of it, and like one of the parts of the landlady, and it was just kind of goofy, and I guess I didn't quite appreciate the humor. So really, it wasn't until, fast forward another 10 years maybe, and I watched it, like now it's 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, on one of I think we were doing a Kung Fu day when I was watching movies with my old movie club, and totally loved it. Like you said, I guess I had seen enough of that style, some of the comedy style, and plus blended with the fantasy. Loved it. It was awesome. Totally fell in love with it. So I've seen it this is probably my third time watching it since I really fell in love with it.
I think this is my second time watching it because I hadn't seen this movie in a while, and then they threw it up on Netflix, and then I found a copy of it for like super cheap, and so I was excited about that. I was first introduced to Stephen Chow's movies through Shaolin Soccer. I saw that first, and I didn't know that was another one. I just didn't know how I felt about that. But like, how Jackie Chan's got a lot of funny stuff in his movies, and even his like Police Story and stuff like that. Like he always has humor in it. Drunken Master. So like Armor of God, those things are fun. And so was watching Shaolin Soccer, like that has like more of like magical elements of it, mystical stuff. So I liked it. So I think that's why Kung Fu Hustle caught my attention, because I was like, oh, it's from the director of Shaolin Soccer. And then Kung Fu Hustle was just different than what I expected. This is not, I wouldn't say this is American humor for a lot of it in certain cases, because it's such a mishmash of different stuff, but it flows. I mean,
I think there are some American humor elements to it.
Oh yes, definitely.
But overall, I would say no. And there's definitely like the gay jokes in it. Those would just not fly today, I don't think.
Probably. That guy was actually one of my favorite characters. Like, he's awesome. Loved how he was just, dude, there's so many great characters in this movie. Okay, what was your favorite scene out of this movie?
Oh, my favorite scene. Well, when Singh and Bone go to assassinate the landlady,
Oh, yeah.
and they're trying to throw knives at her, and the knives keep ricocheting and then stabbing Stephen Chow.
You're right. He keeps throwing them.
Dude, I'm at work. Yeah, I'm at work trying to watch this quietly, like on my break. Got my headphones on and everything, and I cannot stay quiet. Like I am laughing out loud, just busting up. It is so funny.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's a lot of other great scenes in this movie, but that one totally stood out to me. Like I just couldn't contain it. It was so funny.
Oh, dude. Yeah. No, it was great. Like that was awesome. That's a good scene. Yeah. I think initially my favorite scene was when the two assassins go to kill the three masters, and they have the
harpist.
They're playing the harp, and they're like, using the music as a weapon, and that was just freaking brilliant. I loved it. I love that whole sequence.
It is,
and it's so
and the special
interesting.
The special effects aren't that bad.
No, they're not that bad.
16 years later, it's most of the special effects in this movie, and I don't know if it's because they were, I don't know, maybe kind of intentionally supposed to be a little on the corny side, or. But even still, like they don't seem that bad.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they were actually going for, because like the parts when they're running super fast, like Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's honestly that's supposed to be funny.
That's like a Looney Tunes kind of thing, right? That's very specific
stuff. Yeah, but then like they do such a good mixture of slapstick, but then there's legit awesome stuff too, like the whole like Shaolin fist or whatever that they do, the hand at the end when it like blows a hole through the side, and it's in the shape of the hand, and that's just so cool. One thing that I laughed but thought was cool at the same time was when the Beast throws him up in the air at the end of the movie, and then like he's flying up, and then like there's just a random like hawk or whatever that's there, an eagle or something, and he flies up and then steps on it gently, and it's just like ah! And then like he regains his posture and goes, and it's like it's so cool, but at the same time it's hilarious too. And there's tons of parts in this. I should drop some trivia on this before we really start going into it. Do you got any awesome trivia about this movie?
Not really. I mean, it's one of those movies where as you're watching it, I was really getting the feeling like I know that there's a lot of nods to classic Chinese cinema that I don't get. Like I know that I'll see a scene or a joke or something. I'm like, I know that's something that means something to that culture, and I'm not getting it, but I appreciate that it's there.
Right. No,
if that makes sense.
I totally agree. Because there's different things where I was just like, it's weird, but and that's when I'm like, oh, I know there's a disconnect because of, like socially, like I don't understand that there's certain things in there. So that makes a lot of sense. Like one thing that was really cool was when the landlady, after she's revealed that she's a master, and that's actually one of my favorite parts in the movie. So like all of a sudden dang it, I'm trying to remember their names. The assassins or whatever with the harp, they all of a sudden get like blown away, and then like, no, they're standing there and they're looking around and they jump, and all of a sudden they're like forced back down, and because the landlord, the guy had like landed over them and he had like pulled them down, and he looks like he's just asleep like with his arms over him, and then they do that fight where they try to hit him,
shoulders,
and he does like that drunken master like move the energy around and like hits him and stuff like that. That scene was so cool because before that he's such like a super corny guy, and like he's really funny, and you think he's like a wuss, and him and the landlady are like fighting all the time. And then that scene though, all of a sudden they reveal like he is like freaking legit, and so like he just wastes them. But anyway, so right after that scene, so the landlady like lands in the car. That whole sequence where she like doesn't talk to him but just does like those different like hand gestures, and then like
hand gestures
and thumbs her nose at him, and then he just nods.
Right.
Like,
I knew what that was.
Okay, you did. So what's that from?
That was Bruce Lee all the way.
Yeah, that's so awesome. He does the exact same thing to the boss. There's several Bruce Lee nods, and the other thing that's cool is Bruce Ling, the guy who plays the Beast. Apparently, he was considered the third dragon. Basically, after Bruce Lee passed away, then he was one of the main guys that was a Bruce Lee lookalike, and he was a kung fu master. And so Stephen Chow looked up to him actually when he was a kid. That was pretty cool to see. To actually,
yeah, I did. Yeah, for sure. Working with one of your childhood heroes.
Right.
That was the only thing that I kind of looked at trivia wise, was just that most of the actors because there's a lot of older actors in this movie, and a lot of them, I guess, were famous from kung fu movies in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Maybe the 80s, I guess, too. But they were kind of all over the hill, and he kind of brought them all back, which, again, would have been, I mean, it's like us watching The Expendables, where you see all these action stars from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, you know, come together for a movie. Like, that means a lot to people in America. So I'm sure this movie, when it came out, people were like, oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, that's that person.
Right. No,
So
that's
pretty awesome.
I totally agree with you.
I love all the dance sequences too. That's another favorite part of mine, because it's very like West Side Story. The gangs kind of, you know, dancing around, and
I was gonna actually,
it's silly, but it's such a cool Broadway like vibe to it at the same time. Like, great music.
oh yeah, I love the soundtrack in this movie. This soundtrack it's been stuck in my head all week. Like, literally, as soon as like we decided that we were going to review this movie, then the theme song of the whole like da 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 da, that whole part is like stuck in my head just for like a week and a half. But that dance sequence that you were talking about, so that actor is actually he practices Jeet Kune Do. Man, I just butchered that. But anyways,
right.
Bruce Lee's thing, and he actually is a dancer in real life. And so when Stephen Chow was writing the story and was like, how do I make him super tough and like scary? And he couldn't figure it out with something new. And then he was like, oh, this guy's a dancer. I'm just going to have him dance. So like that whole thing of him dancing and then them cutting to scenes of like violence and like, and then him dancing and going back and forth. Like, that was so creative and very innovative at the same time. It was awesome.
Right. Kind of makes him look like a psychopath, just where he just completely disassociates all the violence and things that he does just with feeling good or, you know, dancing or whatever.
You know, to be honest, I don't know why, but he reminds me of Sterling, our cousin. And so I was just like, I don't know. But like the part where he just, terrible combination right here. But when the girl's like, please don't shoot me. And he's like, I don't shoot women. And then like they toss him the shotgun and he shoots her in the back and then kind of dances
as soon as she
away.
Turns around.
Yeah. And I just like, I don't know why that reminded me. I think it's just the goofiness of that, not the homicidal maniac part of that.
Right. But, not the violence towards women.
Yeah. Not
all
that
you
part.
Eligible ladies out there. That is not Sterling's MO.
Not at all.
He's a consummate gentleman.
Yeah. But
yeah, for sure. That little swagger he's got, totally, I could see Sterling doing that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that Stephen Chow actually was, he's been practicing Kung Fu his entire life. His style that he picked was the Wing Chun style, which is pretty legit. That was cool, because when I saw him in Shaolin Soccer and then Kung Fu Hustle, my thought watching it this time was like, he really looks like he's doing the fighting and the moves and stuff like that. And then in researching the movie, I was like, oh, that's cool. He actually does do that. And the fight choreographies in this movie are legit. And to be honest, I feel like they're
super legit.
I feel like they're better versions of The Matrix Reloaded. And it's not all CG. It's like, it's freaking awesome. Which actually the choreographer, he also did the choreography for the Matrix movies, but that's why they probably look similar. But the fighting is legit.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
So
absolutely. And that's what that to me is what pulls you out of this is just comedy, and all of a sudden you forget and you're like, this is a legit, you know, martial arts movie. The fighting it's not goofy, silly fighting. This is legit, top notch, top quality, you know, kung fu. Yeah.
And apparently most of the names of the superpowers in the film, they are taken from pulp novels of this guy, Louis Cha, which I was not familiar with that author. Are you familiar with his work?
No.
And apparently he's a household name in Hong Kong. And it says often compared to Alexandre Dumas, credited with the invention of modern martial arts swashbucklers. So apparently this is like the style of all the fighting in this is like very like classic Hong Kong mythology and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Like, this movie was definitely from Stephen Chow's heart. Like, you can tell.
Oh, yeah. Passion project all the way.
Yeah. And as much as I really liked Shaolin Soccer, like, I think I like this movie more, actually. Like, this movie is pretty awesome. And
it's really a smart movie. I feel like the more you watch this, the more you would see in it, whether it's the humor or the serious side of it. I mean, it's really brilliantly done. It's got some real depth to it. It's not just silly. I mean, it really shows some classic, I don't know, kung fu tropes of like the humble master living in a very, simple, kind of location, coming out of the shadows to defend, the weak and whatnot. And plus showing that anybody can be good at martial arts too. I mean, there's really,
right.
Except for
that one kid where his pants keep falling down. He's like, I know kung fu. Right. Landlady just slaps him out of that was awesome.
Right. But definitely, and it's super cool showing all those older actors just kicking butt, doing, amazing things. So it really shows that age, is not a factor.
No.
When it comes to martial arts.
No, it just kind of, they keep refining their craft. And so like lesser movements, more power. It's freaking legit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think when I first started watching this, I thought it was going to be like super slapsticky, because Shaolin Soccer is very slapsticky. Like they got some really funny jokes in that. But then it takes itself seriously kung fu wise. So I think that's why like the violence is classic kung fu violence. Like it's like, oh, dude just got, he's got his head cut off, got shot and stuff like that. But then but you're right. This is a very smartly written movie. At first it just seems like it's kind of dumb, but then as you dissect it, there's layers on layers of this, which is amazing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. But speaking of the comedy, really good physical comedy. Like it's not cheap, just silly, stupid. I mean, there's some really well done physical comedy in here.
Oh, dude, it's Stephen Chow freaking sells it. Like the part when he's going to try to break the beast out, and he just like halfway looks in this other like place, and he's like, "What is that?" And then he's like, "Oh," and then like backs off real quick, and then that like gets grabbed by the other cell. Just his reactions and stuff is so good. I love that part. The part I laughed so hard was when he's trying to start a fight with somebody, and he's like, "This guy, like my friend he's in the Axe Gang," and he's like, "You right there, you come and fight me." It's like some super tall guy, and he's like, "No, not you. That's not what I was talking about.
That's cheating. Sit down."
Yeah, he's like, no, and then he's like, "You over there, the guy with glasses." He's like, "Four eyes," and then the guy stands up, and he's like crazy ripped. Oh my gosh,
huge dude.
And he's like,
yeah, the way he keeps deflecting and redirecting.
Right, he's like, "Would you guys listen to me?"
He's so quick. His comedic timing so fast and on point.
Right, and then I love how like they honor the fighting and stuff, but at the end too, like when he's surrounded by all the axe guys, and he is completely become the kung fu master. In that part, and they're surrounding him, and you think he's gonna pull off this like sweet Matrix move, and then he like looks down, and then like quick as lightning, he just stomps on everybody's feet.
Oh yeah,
it's just like, and they're all like,
and then it's like back. Then you're back to Looney Tunes humor right there. It's like our Animaniacs or something.
Right. They flow back and forth. But
it totally worked.
They flow back and forth between so many different emotions flawlessly.
And some of that, I mean, there's really, really good camera work on this, the way the shots are lined up and whatnot. Different camera angles are just, the cinematography, really awesome. One other thing, kind of just a little side note, but I was really surprised. A lot of times I feel in martial arts movies, the weapons, especially the hand-to-hand combat weapons, knives, swords, whatever, they don't necessarily look sharp to me. They're just shiny a lot of times. And dude, the axes that they're all carrying, those things look sharp. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
If it was just the lighting or whatnot, those things look lethal. Like it's almost disturbing. You're like, oh wow, those are really gonna mess some people up.
No, for real. In the part two, when the two harp assassins are going after the like Taylor, the guy with he's got all the bow staffs and he's got the spears. I just love that he like just chucks them in the air and then he like kicks them, and the sound design is so cool because it sounds like almost like gunshots. It's like doo, doo, doo. And then he's like jumps and he's like flying through the air. It's just a legit movie. Like, I guess I'm gushing over this movie a lot, but it's a legit movie. Like, and so I guess I would say like, with this, what do you think? Is it action first or is it comedy first?
I don't know. Like, I guess. So my initial thought with this movie was that it was a comedy, like an action comedy.
Yeah.
But the more I was really, paying picking it apart and even thinking about it after the fact, I don't know. I guess me personally, I kind of lean towards it's a legit action movie. I don't know. It's both, man.
I know, dude. I feel like
there's so much comedy in it. I don't think you can say it's strictly an action movie, but you cannot ignore the action and the deeper plot that's going on the whole time.
Right. So I wouldn't water it down by saying it's an action comedy, because I hate that.
No.
That always, anytime somebody's like, it's an action comedy, I'm like, oh, so you mean it's like half and half, and it's neither great in either
I'm
area?
thinking, Jackie Chan, if you're talking martial arts,
like the American movies you're talking about.
Yeah. Like Shanghai Night or Noon, or one of those.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But with this
which are
one,
great, and those are absolutely funny action movies. But this one, man, it's an action movie and it's comedy.
Right. No, that totally makes sense. So I feel like this is the one time when you're scrolling through Netflix and you keep seeing the same movie in different genres, and you're like, that's not a horror movie, or like that's not a comedy. Like this movie clearly would be like, if you're in the mood for watching a comedy, Kung Fu Hustle is great. If you're in the mood for watching a awesome Kung Fu movie, Kung Fu Hustle is great. Like it works for both of them 100%. It works. It is legit comedy and legit fighting.
So if I could compare this movie to two other movies only in that how it blends styles, you've got Shaun of the Dead and Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which to me really, embrace horror, but they also have solid comedic side as well too. Yes. And I feel like you're getting well, Tucker and Dale's more horror tropes, I guess, but I guess you could say the same thing for Shaun of the Dead. But I do really appreciate the strict horror elements in both of those, as well as just some really solid humor. So that's I guess my comparison is that you've got really solid action and a great story combined with some really great comedy.
Right. I still, I don't know. This movie is I would say like an irregular movie. I can tell you, this movie is a cult classic. Like they definitely, immediately had a cult following in America. And it's not really like a hidden gem. It's just, I don't know. I don't know anybody that's seen this movie that didn't really like this movie. So it's just,
I mean, maybe if you were like
maybe at
dragged
first
to go watch it or something. Yeah.
Right.
I feel like it would definitely grow on you. Like it has enough legit, like say you're not really getting the humor, I think you would appreciate the action. So you're going to definitely like that.
Right. No, I definitely agree. I feel like this movie also grows on you too, because there's some movies that you like right away. In this movie, I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first. Like I laughed really hard at different parts, like you were saying, the whole knife thing. But then and the Kung Fu stuff was awesome, but I just didn't know how I felt about like the overall. And then the couple times I watched it, I was like, I just enjoyed it. The colors, the lighting in this.
Yeah. The music again is perfect along with it. The sound design, like you said, is the sound effects are really spot on.
Yeah. And I think the thing that's interesting is like a lot of the actual Kung Fu fights they have like a different flavor to them. A lot of them are funny. And then like the harp one with the assassins, you're not sure what's going on at first. Like that confused me like the first time. But then the second time I watched it, I realized like, oh, those are the air currents, like the air swords. And like the part, like you have the shadow of the cat getting cut in half. Like, that was crazy.
I know.
But that surprised me.
And then they take out Cooley, the first master.
Yeah.
They take him out pretty quick. And then you're like, what? What?
You're just like,
I mean, he's
dead. Yeah.
They're not afraid to, I mean, it's rated R for a reason.
It is.
So, which I appreciate. Like it's not flippant about it. I mean, it's got points where it really comes in hard, and it's perfect.
It sells the story.
I totally agree. Yeah, finish your thought.
Oh,
I was just gonna say it's. Let's interrupt each other a few more times.
No, all right, go ahead.
I'm gonna go this time. I'm gonna go. So it totally grows on you. Like other than that first scene that kind of caught my attention, and then watching it, through one, the first time, I'm not really sure, but then every time after that, it just has grown and grown, and it's, the next time I watch it from here, I'm probably gonna love it even more.
Right.
So it's really cool like that.
I feel like it had to be R because the violence in it like has to be, the stakes have to be serious, and because then that actually really, it makes you really appreciate the characters a lot more and actually care about them. And then seeing Stephen Chow
Right.
start off his character of just wanting to be a hero, and then life happens and that's not what happened to him, but he can't commit to being a bad guy 100%. Like I mean, the first time he tries to murder somebody, it backfires and he keeps stabbing himself by accident.
Right.
But anyways, but then like the second time when he actually has a chance to actually like kill the landlords again, and then he decides right then to hit the beast, and then he just pretty much almost dies right there, like straight up from that. Like,
Right.
that's like his redeeming arc. And then I love the line where they're like, I guess he had to take such a beating to get all the stupidity out of him so his full kung fu masterness would be released. But yeah,
Right.
that's just, dude, the dialogue in this is fast and it's funny, and it gets funnier every time.
Oh yeah.
It really does.
Right.
Like I think my favorite character, honestly, though, is the landlord, because the guy, because
Landlord or landlady?
landlord,
The guy. Nice.
the guy, because when he shows up after they've been revealed that they're kung fu masters, and I love how they show up in the casino and they're wearing like bright 70s like style like clothing.
Yeah.
He's wearing what almost looks like a leather shirt type of thing, and it's just it's freaking awesome. Because then after they
Yeah.
revealed that they're masters, they're both like super cool. And because before that they're like played up for
Yeah, you can
laughs.
tell before then it was an act. That was how they were hiding.
Yeah, it was
hiding
a total
out,
act.
you know,
They were
playing
kind
the
of
character.
like lovers, but like bickering lovers, and just like she's super loudmouth and he's just like kind of whipped and
Domineering.
Like, yeah, and he's just like
He's
don't hurt
flirting
me.
with everybody and just
Right.
kind of a lush, you know.
And then like as soon as like they're revealed, then they're both serious, and you can tell like they have like a deep relationship, and it's just
Right.
it's freaking cool. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's a great point that he's definitely kind of overlooked a little bit because the landlady's she's kind of the star in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
she's definitely like in all the posters and you know, fan art, stuff like that you see. She's very iconic, just wearing that I don't know, like a muumuu and hair curlers and, you know, cigarette hanging out of her mouth, you know, and just got that grumpy look on her face. But that's kind of that one of the iconic, you know, images you think of when you think of this movie, and he's just kind of in the background. But no, he's absolutely solid, and it's more shocking to see him step up and be this
Right.
master than it is for her, because she's already kind of a strong character anyways, but he's completely, you know, like you said, whipped.
right.
And the way when he just finally shows up, you know, taking charge, it's like, oh, okay, this
You're
guy's
like,
awesome.
oh.
Well, kind of like some the other masters. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
they're
true.
definitely kind of, well, maybe not Taylor, but for sure Cooley and Donut. I mean, Donut's this, you know, way over the top, flamboyant, you know, pushed around gay guy, kind of getting slapped around, and
Yeah.
he ends up being like one of the toughest dudes out of the whole,
Oh, dude.
you know,
yeah.
out of the whole group. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's freaking legit. Yeah. But the thing that's funny about the landlady is that she actually was just in the room. She was friends with Stephen Chow, and she was in the room when they were casting the landlady. She wasn't there for the part. And she was apparently
Right.
Stephen Chow
Wasn't
saw
she
her.
with her friend was coming in to do it, and she was just there or something?
Yeah, she was there. She had that look on her face, and she was smoking a cigarette, and that look of just distaste. And Stephen Chow was like, that's the person. And so
That's it.
she literally got hired for that. And that's the iconic. That's what she looks like in this movie. Like when you think of her,
Right.
that's what you think of. And she plays the role like wonderfully. Bill Murray, actually, it looks like they're in a 2010. So this is 5 years after the movie was released in America. I think it was released like the year before in Hong Kong. But anyways,
Probably. Their stuff always comes out before it does here.
right. But yeah, Bill Murray actually said that about Kung Fu Hustle. He says the supreme achievement of the modern age in terms of comedy, and that there should have been a day of mourning for American comedy the day this movie came out. So
Wow.
that is
that's
like
high praise.
super high praise, and like everybody loves Bill Murray, and then for him to be like, this movie redefines comedy, and Bill Murray's obviously he's one of the faces of comedy,
Right.
classic comedy. So
Debatably one of the goats of comedy. I mean, well, he's not debatably one of the goats. Maybe debatably the goat, but yeah,
Right.
he's amazing.
yeah, And so I was just like, it just makes me like Bill Murray even more.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you're automatically like, man, this guy's got amazing taste, which especially for him in the last, 10, maybe even 15 years now, but he really went hard into like independent comedies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he really was exploring different types of comedy versus, the stuff that he was, really made popular, for doing back in the 80s and early 90s, I guess.
Right. So with Kung Fu Hustle, it has been confirmed that they are working on a sequel to it. So
it is confirmed. That's cool.
It is confirmed. Like they had to stop working on it during 2019 at some point, but they're still working on it. But apparently it's going to not be with some of the same characters. So I don't know if it's actually going to be about Stephen Chow or if it's going to be his character might be in the movie and it's about other people or something like that. So
that's cool. But he's directing?
I'm assuming so.
Is he writing and directing?
I think he's writing and directing. I think most of the time he writes and directs his own stuff, even if he doesn't star in his own stuff. But normally he at least has a cameo. But anyways, but he's a triple threat, man. Just writing, directing, acting. Like the dude is like almost 60 years old and he is not slowing down. And it's pretty legit.
And he looks like he's 35 still, which is,
that's amazing.
Pretty awesome.
It is. So wrapping this up, anything else we want to talk about before we roll into our final verdicts?
Other than continue to gush over this movie, it's I think we've done a good job of pumping this movie up. So
yeah,
go watch this movie, y'all.
I kind of want to just hang up and go watch the movie again, but. So basically, okay, so we'll run into the first one. So do you think this movie is relevant when it came out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a huge hit in China and then did really well here. I think that's one of the few times an Asian movie does well in both places, both here in the West and then also obviously there. And it was respected. Like I think it got pretty good reviews.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell in both places. So I would give that an A as far as how it did then.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was a huge smash. Most of the world in America, it wasn't as well accepted, but it was actually at the time, it was the biggest opening for a foreign film in America, it was open in like over 2,000 theaters, which is pretty awesome. So
yeah, that's incredible.
That's pretty legit because normally you'd have to see this movie in like a smaller independent theater or something like that, where they play foreign films, but they're more of the artsy theaters that do that. And this one was in the Roxy Theater, like when I was watching movies there, and so that's pretty legit. So yeah, I agree. This is definitely an A. It made good money here in America, but it was a blockbuster in other places. So yeah, absolutely.
Sure. But I think, definitely respectable here, when it came out.
Yeah.
Maybe you could say a modest success.
Yeah, I'd say modest success it was a big fish success. It didn't blow away.
There you go.
But it made money. Okay. Right, you think this movie is still relevant?
I think so. I mean, it was like you said earlier, it was kind of immediately a cult classic.
Yeah.
So I think as far as relevance today and the fact that it still looks amazing. I feel like it holds up very well still, 15, 16 years later.
Yeah.
So I would definitely give that an A as well.
Yeah. So CG was still predominantly pretty new at that time. They were playing around with it, still figuring out what they could do and couldn't do. Is it still relevant? I think definitely. Unlike our last movie that we reviewed, this one is definitely the opposite of that, where it's like, yeah, it's just fantastic. Yeah. So
right.
Personal enjoyment, Josh.
I give this one a B+. I really liked it.
That's what I'm talking about. I think I got to give this movie an A. I really like this movie. It's
awesome.
It's so much fun. There's so many parts that I love in this movie, and there's not a bad actor in this movie. Like there's just
no.
They sell everything so well, and I love all the characters. Sure. I love how bad the people are, and I love how they give the Beast a little bit of a redemptive arc at the end, where he's the kind of
Oh yeah.
He went crazy, and they explained that he went crazy pursuing kung fu and couldn't find anybody who could beat him. So he was like, yeah, I love that.
It's almost like he turned himself in because of his insanity. And yeah, no, I think for me, the only it would go up. I think if I watched it another time or two, it could definitely jump into an A for me. But this was a solid, funny, awesome action movie.
Yeah,
super cool.
And so, is it a midnight watch for you?
I got to say yes, definitely midnight watch. I mean, that's kind of how I fell into it, was coming across it, middle of the movie basically, and just kind of getting sucked in. I was just like, wow, what is this?
Right.
So, and I think now how much I love it. I think for sure just about every sequence in this movie is worth stopping to watch. So I think it's definitely a
midnight
watch for me.
There we go. Yeah, it is also a midnight watch for me too. I didn't go into this movie thinking that it would be, even though I knew I really liked it. And when I finished it this time, I was like, dude, yeah, I kind of want to watch this movie again right now. Like, I agree. This is definitely, it's going to capture your attention. If it's just on and you're walking by, it's totally going to capture your attention. It doesn't matter where it is in the movie. Like, for me, I was just like, what's going on? Yeah, fantastic film.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up today's episode. If you want to check this movie out, then I own this movie, but I did watch it on Netflix because it was easier than popping the DVD in.
It's right there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Did you watch it on Netflix?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would own this one too. I don't really buy a lot of movies anymore just because it's so easy to stream them.
Yeah.
But I would own this one for sure.
Absolutely. No, like, definitely, guys, check this one out. Special thanks to our sound producer, Jake Colvin. If you guys like this episode and you'd love it, we would love it. If you loved it too, we would love it if you shared it with your friends or anyone that you think would like it.
Absolutely. Please hit the subscribe button. We'd love a 5-star rating. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, any good review you might want to write up, we would love it. We're also on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcast. Just about everywhere else you can get a podcast. It seems like every week or so you keep telling me, oh yeah, we're on this platform now, we're on that platform. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and if you want to email us, hit us up at the Midnight Watch Podcast at gmail.com.
Dude, yeah. I don't know. I was going to say, I'm still thinking about the movie. I was just like, I would literally just like thinking about the movie. I was like, oh man.
You were kind of staring off into space there for a second.
I was, yeah. I legit might actually watch this movie again like later this week. So, anyways, all right. Well, thanks again, guys. You have an awesome week. And as always, keep up the watch.